Into another live edition of the Patriots Beat Podcast right here on the CLNS Media Network. It is Brian Hines from Pats Pulpit, back as always with Alex Barth from 98.5 The Sports Hub to break down another Patriots loss, 10-7 to the New York Giants. Maybe a win in the long run, Alex, which we can talk about that. I'm sure we'll get into some of that in draft pick watch. Team Tank, another big victory for them, but I mean, it was just another one of these I would have expected. It certainly lived up to the hype of a 2-win Patriots team versus a then 3-win Giants team, but just messy quarterback play all around. Defense kept them in it, but just same story on the offensive side of the ball where they can't do enough to even score 10 points, score double digits to get a win here. So just another messy game. And they are who they thought we are. So 2-9 on the year. That's where they sit.
Yep, quarterback change didn't do it. Bailey Zappe struggled just as Mac Jones did. I know for a lot of people, it was funny. I was talking to somebody today who said, this really feels like the end. It really feels like it's time to go full in on the draft. Welcome to those people. I mean, we can start wherever you want to start, Brian. The quarterback usage is obviously the big story. And this isn't to excuse Mac Jones or Bailey Zappe. They both played poorly, and neither one has shown that they're the guy this organization can build around long-term. And that's why I'm sure we'll talk more about Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. But the offense as a whole, the guys away from the quarterback looked out of sync, looked disjointed. And that's what happens when you spend the week preparing two quarterbacks. And Chris Mason of Mass Live actually did a great job. He went back and found a quote from 2001 when we were doing Brady Bledsoe of Bill Belichick saying you can't get two quarterbacks ready in 1 week. There's not enough time. Bill was right then. You look at neither guy was prepared. The rest of the offense wasn't prepared. There's the report from Phil Perry last week that other offensive players were having to get work in on the side in order to get ready for this game. They set themselves up to fail before the game even started with the way they handled it. And then compounding the issue is that neither quarterback played well on their own, independent of what the game plan was. And the game plan itself wasn't great either. But
that's what I was going to add. But you think with all this, the question marks at the quarterback play, it doesn't seem like they trust either guy. And then, you're coming from a Colts game a few weeks ago where you ran the ball really well, a season high in rushing yards. And then cherry on top, the Giants are without Dexter Lawrence, their best defensive lineman. You think this would kind of be a 21 Buffalo game, or maybe not that extreme, right, but you run the ball 40 times and see what happens. And they came out with Mac and they were fine throwing the ball more than the first down play rate was, I believe it was higher in the pass. I think Mac was 60-40 pass splits. So that was kind of unexpected, I would say, from a play calling game plan point of view, to rely on these quarterbacks that you just spent the week going back and forth, kind of flip-flopping between. But we can start with that quarterback breakdown because the mystery ended Sunday when Mac Jones did get the start. There were a lot of different reports that, they split reps 50-50 throughout the week. Bill then said, this morning that Mac got the majority of the reps on the radio, and then there was the report before the game too that it seemed likely that they wanted to play both these guys, and Bill said that too. Both these guys deserve to play after the game. So Mac did get the start, lasted a half, same type of stuff we've seen from him. He's just broken. The once accurate, good decision maker out of college is just not doing any of those things correctly. Two really bad in interceptions, missing guys, a lot of miscommunications, a couple with Mike Gesicki. He said after the game, I just wasn't on the same page as the offense. If you want to say that's from not getting the full amount of snaps in practice, maybe, but just same old story for Mac this year, not good enough. And then when Bailey Zappe comes in at the half, he leads a touchdown drive, but he had a negative average depth of target on that drive. And then he finished the game with, I believe, a 1.4 average depth of target. So it was definitely a watered down type of offense. And then the one time he does push the ball downfield, he gets intercepted on kind of the same play as Mac, where it's just like a two-man concept and he stares down the crosser. So they don't have a quarterback. They theoretically entered that game without a quarterback, and then they leave New York without a quarterback.
No, it's yeah, you hit it right on the head there. They don't have a quarterback, and Mac's issues are the same. You saw the shortcomings with Bailey Zappe. Yeah, it's all bad, and they did this to themselves. This is it, and this is not as again. There are shortcomings Mac and Zappe both have. There are. I'm not saying there aren't. They did this to themselves. It did not need to get to this point. Neither player is this bad. They compounded the issue with a series of mistakes that began really last offseason, but even this offseason leading up to now. It's just been a total mismanagement of the position and the offense as a whole for multiple years.
Yep. Yeah, because, I mean, there were, again, players to be had, but neither of these guys, they're just not in the right. Obviously, they're not talented physical guys, but they can make plays. We've seen Mac do it before, and they're just not there. They can't do it right now. So, I mean, they don't have a quarterback, but where are you turning next week? Because it looks like we're going to do this whole rodeo again. I can't wait to hear what Bill says Wednesday instead of, probably have a new say instead of him.
No, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be he's telling everybody to be ready.
Get ready.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go half and half again. And maybe it's Zappe then Mac. They're going to go half and half again. That really wouldn't surprise me. I think they're kind of just waiting till one of the guys either gets hurt or quits. I would have kept Will Grier. I would have started him. They need a fresh start. Neither one of these guys gives you a fresh start at this point. No, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Mac Jones. I really would not be surprised if Mac Jones starts next week, plays the first half, and Bailey Zappe comes in for him. When he threw that first pick, and then the next series gets in with Mike Gesicki, that was it. That's where you pull him for his own good, if nothing else. And they kept him in the game, which to me was the sign of this is a plan. One is going to get the first half no matter what. The other is going to get the second half no matter what. That is what that looked like. Why wouldn't they go back to that? If they weren't going to pull Mac, even after that second pick, I know it was just one play to hand it off at the end of the half. But if they weren't going to pull Mac after that second pick, they're not going to pull him. It means they're not done with him. They've had too many chances to show they're done with him, and they haven't. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts next week. It probably should be Bailey Zappe. I think at this point, you just got to sit Mac down and be done with him because you can't keep trotting him out there every week to go 12 for 20 for 80 yards and 2 picks. They seem content with continuing to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised. It should be Zappe, but I would not be surprised if it's Mac.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm kind of at. Just like, I know the offense wasn't great for Zappe, and he also threw the interception, but he seemed a little more confident, right? That internal clock isn't broken, where we hope that maybe the bye week could fix Mac a little bit in that sense, and it just didn't. But I mean, you saw Zappe, he had like that one play where he evades the rusher, flips it to Ramondre Stevenson, almost picks up the first down. Like, that's not a play Mac Jones makes right now. So I would go Zappe. Like I said last week, I would have went Zappe. I'd give him the whole week and just see what it looks like. But again, big picture on this quarterback room is they don't trust any of these guys. None of these guys are very talented. So it just opens up this can of worms again where maybe they have to go back to Mac Jones. And, we can talk about it too. You mentioned it briefly there. They cut Will Grier on Saturday.
I would just say real quick on the starting quarterback. Sorry.
Yeah, go.
They got to tell players. They have to tell players. That was another thing. So you had some players saying they knew during the week. Some players now saying they knew from the beginning. Hunter Henry said he didn't know until Sunday. Matthew Slater said he didn't know. You got to tell them. You got to tell. I get it. If they're on defense or special teams, it's not their job. They have their own job to focus on. It is a massive distraction. The quarterback position is different. You don't have to tell us. And I know there's people that want to be like, well, the media is just buttered that they don't get to know the starter. Don't tell. I don't care. Frankly, don't. We get a ton of content out of speculating. You don't have to tell us. I'm fine with that. Tell them. The annoyance with Bill not naming a starter, and people have made it up into this media conspiracy that the media just gets bad whenever Bill doesn't say stuff. I can't speak for other people in the media. Me, myself, I don't really care. I'll figure out things to write about. The team is different. You can tell the team. You should tell the team. That matters. That makes a difference, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Tell me all you want. Tell me nothing. I don't care. The guys in that locker room, the offensive players, Hunter Henry, the starting tight end, should not be figuring out the starting quarterback on Sunday. He shouldn't be figuring it out when I do. That's the point. He should know before me. Matthew Slater should know before me. So I just another thought with it. It's just part of the. It goes back to Brian. We talked about in the offseason. I've been talking about this going back to Mike Cadlick co-hosting the show, and maybe even it was the end of Evan's time. Stop playing mind games with the quarterback, with both of them, with the quarterback. Stop doing it. Doesn't help. I get it. They want tough players. They want players that can respond to adversity. That's why you run the hills behind the practice field at the end of the day in camp. Stop playing these mind games with the quarterbacks and the other players on the roster. It's not accomplishing what they think it's accomplishing.
Yeah. I mean, you saw it firsthand. It affects the offense, too. You mentioned Phil's report, how they have to do these side sessions, like it's JV football or something to get extra reps in. And an offense that's so predicated on timing and rhythm, to not know who your quarterback is just it's kind of ridiculous there. And like, you don't have to tell us. I agree with you, but your team should know. You should not have Hunter Henry saying he found out Sunday, and then Ramondre Stevenson's Ezekiel Elliott being like, "Oh, we knew the whole time it was going to be Mac," right? Like, get everyone on the same page. Let them know who the quarterback is, because Bill said it. He also said it all week. I don't name starters at every position. The quarterback's different, and he did it with Cam. He did it, with other guys in the past. He's done it with Mac in the past. He said Mac's been our starter, right? The past few off seasons. So it's just bizarre there. But going back, you mentioned it briefly. They cut Will Grier on Saturday. I believe he is subject to waivers, so we will actually find out in maybe 15 minutes or so if he clears. They do have 2 practice squad spots open, so you'd imagine they'd like him back, because based off this quarterback room, and you'd like someone with some familiarity back in the mix there. But you look at a team like Cincinnati, who had Will Grier. They lost Joe Burrow. Who knows what happens on waivers. But did you have anything else on Will Grier and that whole situation? You knew they needed a spot for Connor McDermott, but kind of a bizarre way to get it, especially with the current state of that room.
We all thought it was going to be Ty Montgomery, but now he's playing receiver. We'll get to that in a minute. I'd bring him back. Again, I just think a fresh start would be good. And I think a fresh start is more than Bailey Zappe. I'd give Will Grier a shot, even if that's as a practice squad elevation. We'll see what happens. I'd give him a shot.
Yeah. And I know people are going to want to hear it. Malik Cunningham, any thought process? Like, I don't think it's going to happen, because they keep playing them at wide receiver is what it sounds like. But I mean, still at this point, like, just see. It doesn't hurt anything to just see, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's got to practice at quarterback. You can't put him in cold. And was it O'Brien or Belichick said last week he hasn't practiced at quarterback since before the Raiders game. So you're talking about a month and a half ago. If they can give him the reps, I wouldn't hate throwing him in there. I don't know that I'd start him. I don't think he's ready to play a full 60 minutes at quarterback in the NFL, but having him available on game day and a package option, run like 7 or 8 shots with it, plays with him under center where it's, read options, RPOs, things like that. Like, that'd be great. But if he's not practicing at quarterback, he can't do it. So, and if he's not practicing quarterback, that tells me they don't plan for him to play quarterback. So that just doesn't seem like it's in the cards right now.
Yeah. So the messy quarterback situation gets even messier. So we'll see what goes on here as we move forward. But we can talk about some other positions on offense. Wide receivers also not good. Sounds like you had some thoughts on some Ty Montgomery there, getting some wide receiver snaps. Tyquan Thornton just continued to be a mess kind of at that position. So what'd you think of the receivers yesterday down there at MetLife?
For the most part, I think the team, when I say they don't know what they're doing, I mean the team doesn't know what they're doing with the receivers. You saw them rotate in everybody yesterday. Ty Montgomery's out there playing receiver. They rotated Juju Smith-Schuster in a good amount after he'd been benched. They rotated Tyquan in a good amount after he'd been benched. Kayshon Boutte played a good amount in this game. That's what it should look like. Put everybody out there and see what you got. See what you got in Boutte. See what you got in Thornton. See what you got in a lot of these guys, even Juju. See if he can kind of work through his issues. Let him get in games, work through his issues. Maybe he can contribute next year. I actually like how they managed the receivers in this game. That being said, Ty Montgomery is a running back. I think his best value to this team is a third down running back. He should not be playing wide receiver. The other thing I'll say, amid all the doom and gloom about the offense this year, Pop Douglas legit. Pop Douglas is a legit player, and whatever, look, the offense is not going to, should not, let me say, I don't know that it won't, but it should not look, it should look very different next year.
You said that last year.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm talking personnel wise, everything.
Yeah.
If you're changing the core scheme, all of it, it should look very different next year. There should be a spot for Pop Douglas and whatever that looks like. And that is why, like, when we look at the draft, I'm not saying they can't add another kind of slot guy, but maybe more of a Z. I'm definitely looking at them more for X's because I think Pop Douglas is starting, top 3 NFL wide, top 3, like on the depth chart. A start in 11 personnel. He's a legitimate starting wide receiver. He's a guy that can make plays. He's electric with the ball in his hands. You're seeing it. He needs to be he needs to be part of the offense moving forward. This year, yeah, he should be a part of it too if they're continuing to try to win games. But everybody else, again, Juju still looks slow. Devontae Parker made a nice catch on a slant and running after the catch yesterday, but he also fell over on a slant in the first half or tripped on his route in the first half, almost led to an interception. Kendrick Bourne's a pending free agent. Kayshon Boutte still hasn't popped now that he's getting more opportunities. Douglas is the guy. Douglas, they found a guy that they need to make a part of their offense moving forward.
Yeah. And, he might not be your number one alpha receiver or whatever you want to call it, but like he's a guy who, as you kind of said, 11 personnel, like he's going to have a role. I think he's 4th in the league now in yak per reception. So get him the ball, these screens, these short crossers. They even ran one of those like downfield screens with Zappe, I believe, or that might have still been Mac, but like get him the ball in space and he's going to make good things happen. So that's one of your few bright spots there on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see with his head injury. I think someone said he wasn't in concussion protocol yesterday, but we'll kind of monitor that going forward. Which, I mean, speaking of that was ridiculous that there wasn't a flag on that play. Pop getting absolutely clotheslined on that punt return. That's just when they need like that eye in the sky or whatever they want to call it to buzz down and be like, this is a personal foul, because that was kind of a ridiculous hit. But good response by the Patriots sideline. I guess Jabril Peppers had some words for the officiating crew after that. But
right,
that was a rough call. But Pop good, yeah. Tyquan still, like, he had some routes of that game that were bad, like going backwards off the line of scrimmage. That's just another one of those misses. But Mondre, Zeke, good. I don't know any other offensive thoughts.
Yeah, the running game continues to work. I don't know why they only ran the ball 31 times and threw it 37 against that defense, the league's worst defense without its best run defender. Not a great showing from Bill O'Brien in this one. Really, and look, if the quarterback decision was up to Bill Belichick, that sort of handcuffs O'Brien a bit because maybe he does. Who knows when it goes back to my point. Who knows when Bill O'Brien knew? Maybe he had to put together a really black and white game plan because he didn't know who was going to be leading it. And it was 2 different game plans very clearly for Mac Jones and Bailey Zappe. Again, as was the case last year, again, 2 different game plans. 14 passes for Bailey Zappe. I think 6 or 7 of them were behind the line of scrimmage. And that's not to say, if they let Mac Jones do that, he'll be successful. It's just not a sustainable way to run an NFL offense, especially not when these are your receivers. But yeah, the game plan was weird. And I don't know why they didn't run it more because the running game looks good. Ramondre looks good. And I've seen some people be like, hey, they should try to get Zeke back next year and like bring this backfield back, add a third down back, but keep Ramondre and Zeke as the 1-2. I don't know. It's going to be that easy to get Zeke back.
He's looked good.
Yeah, he's going to have, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of competition for him in free agency because he's looked, I mean, like he looked in Dallas. He's not peak Zeke anymore, but he's still a very capable NFL running back.
Yeah. And he might want to go play on a winner for the last few years of his career.
that was probably a part of it as well.
Last thing, Trent and Onwenu, I thought were good. Those tackle spots. The interior, not so good. Cole Strange beat a few times. Good in the whole line was good in that run game, but that pass protection still kind of shaky, especially in that interior. But Trent and Big Mike, I thought, were solid yet again. So unless you had anything else on the offense or the quarterbacks or anything at all, we could hear from our friends over at FanDuel very quickly, and then we can jump over to the other side of the ball.
Yep, hang on. Where is it? There we go.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you got your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, so over to the defense. Alex, I think you were one of the first ones to point this stat out on Twitter yesterday that teams are 50-2 this year when allowing 10 or fewer points, I believe it was. And the two losses are now both the Patriots in the last 2 weeks. So not good company there. They're doing their job, but it's not enough. And, Adrian Phillips kind of said it after the game to the Herald, like, we gave up 10 points again and we still lost. So now we just have to give up 0 points, I guess. So that's kind of where it's at with the defense. Like, maybe some frustration starting to boil over that the offense, that they're playing like this and the offense can't even score double-digit points to win a game.
Yeah, well, that's not something you want to hear a defensive leader say, certainly. Yeah, for the most part, good day for the defense. Jabril Peppers really good again. Christian Barmore was really good again. One player did not play well was J.C. Jackson.
Yeah,
he got burnt numerous times by Jalen Hyatt, and that was kind of my big takeaway from the defense is that I don't, for the rest of the year, whatever. At this point, they're 2-9, but boundary corner is going to be a need again this offseason because you're going to have Christian Gonzalez coming back. Is John Jones still going to be your boundary or slot? Where's Marcus Jones at? Like, they're going to need another corner and probably another boundary corner. We're back to that again. So add that to the list of needs because J.C. Jackson just doesn't look like he has it right now.
Yep, he was tough. He did have one nice pass breakup, but overall, too many got beat downfield too many times by Jalen Hyatt. Also had a missed tackle. Him and John Jones had kind of back-to-back missed tackles there on the lone touchdown drive, both on third down, I believe. So not good there. But Peppers, good as always. Barmore, good as always. The pass rush finally got home a little bit. Second half, forcing Tommy DeVito to hold the ball, drop his eyes. Anthony Jennings, Keon White got his first sack. But, yeah, it's like the big picture now down the stretch here is you're 2-9. How's this going to look? Is it going to keep getting frustrated? You heard Phillips' comments. Phil Perry said he talked to Devon Godchaux, and he kind of said the same thing. Like, down the stretch here, we're playing for pride, and we're playing for the names on the back of our jerseys, is what he said. Like, there's 31 other teams watching you. Like, you got to put good film out there, which is Trent Brown kind of alluded to that earlier this week as well, speaking to the media, saying, like, I'm putting good film out there. So that's kind of the weird predicament you get yourself in when you're, out of the playoffs is you have these guys start playing for themselves more than the team and trying to put good individual film on tape. So that's probably one of the big picture things to watch for this defense kind of down the stretch.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because there's still, the defense shouldn't change much to next year. It's still been a good unit. You're going to get Matthew Judon back. You're going to get Christian Gonzalez back. Obviously, you'll see what happens with Kyle Duggar and Josh Uche. But, the pieces still seem like they're there. You're just kind of seeing who you're maybe going to invest in, who you're not, right? Does Duggar show that he's the guy you need to keep, or is he a guy that you're going to move on from? Same with Josh Uche. Some of these young guys. Keon White had a sack this week, which is great. He had that great summer. Solid start to the season, suffered a concussion in October and was kind of slow coming back. I thought he had a really good game yesterday. So is he a guy that's going to kind of grab this opportunity and run with it, finish the rookie year strong, and boom, that's a guy you're counting in for a big role next year, that kind of thing. I think that's really what you're looking for on the defensive side of the ball at this point.
And hopefully Marte Mapu can be a part of that, not even playing again, which I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be up to the next coaching staff to figure him out. That's just probably the reality of it because they, still can't. I guess he still can't be trusted to play linebacker at 220 pounds because he might get run over. It might cost you a game. That might be what costs you the game is letting your young player develop. It's unfortunate, but I think it's just going to be up to the next coaching staff to figure out what his role is.
Yeah, unfortunate there, but yeah, kind of the same old for the defense. Good performance, like. We said Thursday the big thing was slow down Saquon Barkley, and they did that. Like really good defensive line performance again after slowing down Jonathan Taylor, then slow down Saquon Barkley, but it's just not enough. As Philip said, they got to hold teams to basically 0 points at this
Well,
point.
look, as Jonathan Vilma said yesterday, it's two good defenses going at it. He was terrible. Yesterday.
What was his Jabril Peppers take? That
he compared Jabril Peppers to Jamal Adams.
Disrespectful to Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, very.
Yeah,
he had out here with Blitz Boy.
Yeah, he had some rough moments in that one, Jonathan Velma. But
yeah,
I maybe don't blame him for that one. I mean, they had to go to Gronk and Michael Strahan to host like a podcast mid-game.
Yeah. Even in the last, remember the ball that hit Juju in the hands? He called the Washington game, and he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't have thrown that." Like,
yeah,
Vilma's been a tough watch this year. It's not just when he calls the Patriots.
Yeah, he has been. So, anything else defensively? Or I mean, not much else to say from them, but
no, that's all I got for the defense.
All right, so we can go over to the special teams, the good stuff, because
you want to do SeatGeek first?
Oh yeah, we could hear from SeatGeek very quickly before we do that.
I've been looking for the best deal on Celtics tickets, and with over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports festivals, and more. With the NFL, NBA, and NHL seasons in full swing, you don't want to miss out. SeatGeek has your tickets to every game. Plus, artists like Travis Scott are on tour. They put all the tickets across the web in one place to make sure you're getting a good deal. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so look for the green dots. Green means good and red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. So as you know, I always come through for you guys. You can use my code DREAMERSPRO for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code DREAMERSPRO. Make sure you check the link in the description to download the app.
All right, so last but not least, Chad Ryland, 35-yard field goal to tie the game there, send it into overtime. He missed it for the tank. I have two thoughts on this. One, that wasn't good. Like that's a kick you have to make. Yeah. Second straight week, you missed a 35-yard field goal. Bill said it, like, that's not acceptable. Like, you have to make those kicks. Number two, we need to stop talking about Nick Folk. Like, please get over it. And that's not even a pro Chad Ryland take. This was a 38-year-old kicker who was declining down the stretch of last year. Like, he couldn't kick off. It was fine to move on for him. Now, if you want to be mad that they replaced him with a guy who's missing 35-yard field goals, fine. If you want to be mad that they replaced him and used a 4th-round pick to replace him, fine. But, like, to sit here and cry about Nick Folk not being here on a 2-9 football team when there's so many other things to complain about, bigger things to complain about, is just ridiculous to me. So Ryland has not been good, but the Folk stuff, like, please, it needs to stop. I can't understand that right now.
So I go two ways on this. If Nick Folk's here, they're probably not 2-9. They're probably 4-7.
Yeah.
Colts game, this Giants game, they probably win. That being said, if your kicker is the difference between winning 2 games and counting, you probably didn't build a very good football team.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is where this is minor. And I said it over the summer, so I'll stick with it. It was time to move on from Nick Folk. It was time. He struggled down the stretch last year. He was 38 years old. Is 38 years old. He struggled down the stretch last year. He's 38 years old. Year too early versus year too late. Odds are Nick Folk was not going to bounce back. The bounce back he's had is impressive. It's rare. He deserves credit for that. That was moving on from Nick Folk is not the issue. The issue is who they replaced him with. And that's where people saying you find kickers on the street, and teams have found, kickers here and there. It's not a total crapshoot drafting or signing a kicker. Like, you can scout these guys. It's not just looking up who made the most kicks. There's things teams do to evaluate the mechanics and things like that. They picked the wrong guy. That doesn't mean that, again, they should have moved on from Folk. They should have moved on from Folk and found a better kicker. Or at least not taken Chad Ryland as high as they did. Because, yes, Chad Ryland is struggling. I also go back to the fact that he basically didn't kick all summer. He was kicking every other day in training camp, didn't get any attempts in preseason games. Another player, and that's not to say that if he'd gotten a kick in the preseason, he'd be great, but we talked about this. You can go find the clip of me talking about it, where he missed a kick at the end of practice, and I said, well, it stinks he's not going to get to kick for 4 days now, because we don't get to see how he bounces back from a loss. It's another player they botched the development of, because they just won't put kids in games, even in the preseason, even in camp. So that's not to defend Chad Ryland. It's not to defend the pick. He's been bad. He needs to hit those kicks. Let me say that. The issue isn't that they moved on from Folk. The issue is when they moved on from Folk, they replaced him with a kicker who wasn't good. They could have moved on from Folk with the kicker who is good, and it would have been the right decision no matter what Nick Folk is doing this year.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't
get a good kicker.
Like, I don't think anything from college, Chad Ryland said he was a bad kicker. Like, I don't mind bringing him in, but just maybe, like, you don't have to use a 4th-round pick on that position. And, I mean, he outperformed them in the summer, but as you said, like, they don't let him kick, and now
he didn't really perform. Remember, it was a draw. We were talking about them keeping 2 kickers.
Yeah, but I had the percentages, and Ryland had a higher percentage, and he had the bigger leg, and he could kick off, but I thought, like, they might keep the 2 kickers just for consistency, but it's what was I gonna say? It's letting him kick, not letting him kick throughout the summer definitely hurt. And now, again, not to make an excuse, but he gets like 1 kick a game because of this offense, probably not easy, but 35-yarder, you have to make that. So I'm not expecting them to all of a sudden move on from him this year. Like, he's a 4th-round pick, but maybe wouldn't be surprised if a kicker or 2 pops up on that workout list, once a week. Maybe Tristan Cayeno, he's just sitting around. He was here last year. You have 2 practice squad spots open. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe bring someone in here to try and get that seat hot a little bit, because, again, you can't be missing 35-yard kicks. But, like, the Nick Folk stuff, like, it was the right move on from him. Like, how quick – he was awesome here early, but down the stretch last year, like, he might have cost you a game against Cincinnati, missing 2 extra points in a 1-score game where you needed 1 more win to get in the playoffs. So, like, he was fading down the stretch. He was 38 years old. Right move to, have a backup plan in place, but maybe you picked the wrong guy and you picked him a little too early with an asset that could have went somewhere else to help the team. So that was my kind of kicker rant. I've just seen way too much Nick Folk talk on the timeline right now, blaming Bill Belichick for that when there's a lot of other things that Bill Belichick deserves some blame for. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Any, other special teams, I thought Bryce was good.
Yeah, Bryce Behringer's been very good. He's been excellent. So meanwhile, the punter they took in the 6th round has been good. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought Bryce Behringer was good.
And I think they could find a better kick returner at this point than Ty Montgomery. Like,
stop running kicks out of the end zone.
That too. I wouldn't run kicks out of the end zone. I would just fair catch it or knee it and get the ball to 25. I think they've run one pass once, right?
8 kicks out of the end zone now this year. It's like 7, 8, 9, something like that. They've run out of the end zone. None of them have gotten back to the 25. At that point, it's beyond Ty Montgomery. It's the decision making. At a certain point, coaching staff needs to say, "Hey, stop running kicks out." But yeah, they probably could. Well, it's supposed to be Marcus Jones. He got hurt. But yeah, you'd think they could find a better kick returner.
Or Isaiah Bolden, who, maybe another sneaky loss. But yeah, that's like, I like Ty Montgomery as a 3rd down back, but they're using him as a wide receiver and a kick returner. I just don't know. Just puzzling usage there. So do you have any other thoughts on that wonderful game? Or we could talk a little college football here from the weekend, or anything else you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, the in-game coaching was bad. The in-game coaching, there were so many questionable decisions. Again, we talked about the game plan a little bit, but they had that weird 4th down where they lined up in like 10 different formations on a 4th and 1, only to call a timeout in the second half and then punt. You had them playing for the field goal at the end of the game instead of playing for the touchdown. Why are you playing to tie at 2 and 8? It's just, it feels like the coaching staff, the fastball is not there. You had Juju Smith-Schuster getting into it with Troy Brown. As much as we talked about Bill the GM, and we've said Bill the GM is the reason Bill needs to go more so than Bill the coach, it has not been a good year for Bill the coach.
Yep. Yeah, like, if this was the Tom Brady era, and that was a close game, and they burned a timeout on that punt fake, whatever, like that would be a big issue. But so the fact that they burned the timeout, they didn't even just take the delay or they didn't go for it. Like, I don't know. That was puzzling. And then the decision at the end, calling those couple run plays to play for the field goal instead of going for the win at 2-8 is just head scratching. They just clearly don't trust anything they're trying to do offensively there. So some questionable decisions there on the coaching staff. But if that's all you had, we can talk some college football because at 2-9, the Patriots still hold the third pick of the NFL draft currently because the Cardinals lost they dropped to 2-10. So some shuffling could happen there when Arizona has their bye week. But we have the game this weekend. Michigan staged off Ohio State. Jaden Daniels had another good game. What'd you see from the college football landscape this weekend?
Yeah, it was a bunch of good games. I mean, rivalry week totally delivered independent of draft stuff, just good games up and down the board. And that's what usually happens rivalry weekend, right? As close games. I thought that, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, another good game from him. He's flying up my draft boards. I actually have him over Michael Penix now. I have him as QB3. I think all 4 are first-round picks. I think those are probably your 4 first-round picks. I'm still not buying it with J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
I know he made a couple of good throws in that game, but I just still too far away from me. Still too raw. I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. had a great game. He did. I thought his performance went a long way in potentially getting him that 1-1 spot. And we'll see. We got another Bo Nix, Michael Penix showdown. That'll be sick. We're going to see Quinn Ewers against Oklahoma State. If he comes out, and I know there's been reports he's going back to school, but he might come out. And it's going to be really interesting who transfers to Ohio State next year because please,
Kyle
cannot
McCord
be Kyle McCord again. I cannot. I don't even like Ohio State, but they play in a lot of big games, so I watch them a lot. I don't need to see any more Kyle McCord. No more Kyle McCord.
They have good receivers we want to see getting the football, and Kyle McCord can't get them the football.
So that's going to be like a prime spot for the transfer portal quarterbacks. And that's like, I wonder, does yours go back there? Remember, he started at Ohio State. He didn't play there, but he was there. Does he go back to Ohio State? Does, somebody like Riley Leonard, who's, I would assume he should go back to school. And if he does, I would think transfers with Mike Elko leaving Duke. Does Riley Leonard try to get to Ohio State? I think that'd be a good fit for him. I will touch a little bit on the Michael Penix thing. Yeah, because this is fair. I wouldn't say he melted down at the end against Washington State. I don't know why they were calling passes to begin with. I think maybe trying to get him like his Heisman moment. But yeah, he should have like 3 game losing picks at the end of that game, and they were all dropped. So that was concerning. Loved seeing the emotion at the end with his team winning the game, but yeah, you want to see him go win that game, and he didn't. He didn't blow the game, but he didn't win it either. And I would have liked to see him go out and win that game.
Yep. I agree that Jaden Daniels might slowly be creeping up in that QB3 conversation, which is another thing we need to stop talking about is that Marvin Harrison, Jaden Daniels mock draft nonsense, because I don't think that's going to happen. Jaden Daniels might be a top 15 pick. So
I think the one I've been kind of like flirting with is, let's say they end up at 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
You trade down from 2 to like 6. You figure, because, all right, so in the top 5, you're going to have Williams, May, Harrison, Verse, and then Alt or Fashanu are your top 5, right? You trade down, you get the other tackle at 6, and so you move down from 2 to 6, and you pick up like a second round pick or something. You then use whatever you got moving down from 2 to 6 to move up from 33 to like 10, and you take Jaden Daniels. And then you figure out the wide receiver, and then if my math's correct, you'd still have a second round pick left. You use that second round pick, and I got like A.D. Mitchell or Johnny Wilson or Thomas. You reunite Jaden Daniels. Like that to me would be the way that would go.
Yep, that would definitely be intriguing. Should be a good conference championship next weekend. Georgia, Bama. We can obviously talk about those a little bit more on Thursday. Wild Iron Bowl, though, as always. That was an unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Yeah, we got to talk about that for a second. 4th and goal from the 31 with 30-something seconds to go.
Two-man pass rush was, that was a decision, to say the least.
Alabama should have won by 9 because that was a pick 6. I don't care.
That was a pick.
I did not see an angle yet where he definitively stepped out.
I saw a good angle where he stepped out, but I don't know about the play before. That might have been some funky safety touchdown thing with that whole sack fumble.
Look, it was awesome. It was just awesome. What a great ending. I don't know, being that close with Auburn, it helped Alabama that like Washington played it close last week and Texas played it close, right? Like, oh no, Texas didn't play it close. They blew their opponent out, but you had some of these, like, it probably didn't help Alabama's playoff chances that they had to go down to the wire against Auburn and probably should have lost to Auburn, but what a game. That's why college football's the best. And I'm texting with Evan. He's like, that's just bad football. Who gives up a 4th and goal from the 31? No, but that's the whole point. You don't see that like when you watch college football, you see things you've never seen before. The game's never over. You don't get that anywhere else. And that's why college football is the best. College football is better than all of the things you like. It always delivers. It always, except in the national championship last year, to be fair, but it almost always delivers. It was great. 4th and 31, WON, roll tide. That was unreal.
It's like March Madness and college basketball too. Like it's what you get when you put a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids on a field or a court and just it's chaos. You just never.
But I would argue it's better because the top youth basketball players don't play college basketball anymore. They're all overseas or they're in the G League.
That's true.
Right. Whereas,
I think it's better, but it's still kind of just that madness stuff you never.
College sports, every sport, the college version is better than the pro version.
Yeah.
Every sport, that's true. Like college baseball to me is the most underrated product in sports. Yeah, college baseball is so freaking good. But no, it is what an awesome day of games. We got some good championship. We'll get to them later in this week. We got some good championship games. We'll get to some good matches. I do wish we were getting Texas, Oklahoma. I wish BYU had pulled that game off against Oklahoma State, but should be fun. Oh, and Iowa, Nebraska, which happened right after we got off the air the other day. That was awesome too. And now I need Iowa to win the Big Ten championship. It would just be so funny.
That would be
I go on and on like this.
That would be the most comical win of all time if Iowa beat Michigan after all that. But yeah, that Iron Bowl, as Don said, seed from Jalen Milroe. Shout out Jalen Milroe for responding after getting benched against UCF or USF, whoever it was. He's had a really good second half of the year. That was a seed, from the right hash to the back left pylon. That was an awesome throw. So, and
a nice guy, Isaiah Bond too, who is a true sophomore, so he's not in the draft this year, but made a hell of a catch.
Kenbrell Tompkins.
And that was my first thought when that happened. Was a unicorn.
I saw your unicorns tweet, and I was like, that was Kenbrell Tompkins, literally.
Yeah, so, that is what that felt like.
Yeah. So there'll be awesome conference championship games next weekend that we can discuss on Thursday, as well as another Patriots game to preview, because the show goes on as the Los Angeles Chargers, hopefully without Brandon Staley, come to Foxborough.
Oh my God, we need to be done with Brandon Staley already. We just need to be.
Yeah, he's bad to watch. So maybe the Chargers will have that new coach bump when they're in Foxborough next week. It's throwback week. Everyone celebrate. Patriots back. But Alex and I will be here on Thursday to preview that one, to talk some college football, of course, right here on the channel. So make sure you subscribe, turn the notifications on so you do know when we go live. But until then, you can follow Alex on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Go read his work over at 985thesportshub.com. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and go read my coverage over at patspulpit.com. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in, and we will see you guys later this week.